Continuing with the second chapter, Historiography, Indian Tradition, we will move on to page number 8, Historiography in the Medieval Period. Historiography in the Medieval Period. The style of writing Rajtarangini, The History of Kashmir by Kalhana in the 12th century CE is quite close to the concept of modern historiography. Kalhana himself says that he wrote this text after critically examining various sources like inscriptions, coins, remains of ancient monuments, dynastic records, and local traditions. So as we move to the medieval period, we see that the writing of history was more, you can say, which was more verified, which was more cross-checked, and it had evidence. So the style of writing Rajtarangini was a book written by Kalhana in the 12th century CE, and it was based on the history of Kashmir. So it is quite close to the concept of modern historiography. Now, what is modern historiography, or why can we call it as it is a example, or it is quite close to modern historiography? Because the writer Kalhana, he himself said that he had critically examined, he had properly checked various sources like inscriptions, coins, remains of ancient monuments, dynastic records, and local traditions. So he has checked all these things, he has verified that, and when he was convinced that yes, these all are correct, and there is nothing like imaginative or something from his own side, he has written the book based on the evidence which he has found. He has found inscriptions, there were a few things on which things were carved and written, coins, remains of ancient monuments, and etc. etc. In the medieval India, the historians in the court of Muslim rulers were influenced by Arabic and Persian historiography. Among them, Zayuddin Barani holds an important place in Tariq-e-Firuz Shahi, a book written by him. He has stated the purpose of historiography. According to him, the historian's duty is not limited only to the recording of the ruler's valor and policies of welfare, but he should also write about the ruler's failings and incorrect policies. Barani further says that a historian should also take into consideration the impact of teaching of the wise, the learned, and the saints on the cultural life of people. Thus, Barani expanded the source of historiography. So during the medieval India, the historians in the court of the Muslim rulers were quite influenced. They had a lot of influence of the Arabic and Persian historiography. So among them, Zayuddin Barani holds an important place. He was quite prominent. He has written a book, Tariq-e-Firuz Shahi. And in that book he has said the purpose of historiography. Now historiography, during those olden times, all the historians, or many of the historians, had different concept about it. Like they had a different perspective at looking at historiography. So according to him, he says that a historian's duty is not only limited to the recording of rulers' valors and policies of welfare. Valor is all his good deeds, like how he fought the war, how he won the war, all good things about him, how strong he was, how influential he was. So that is valor, all the good deeds. And the policies of welfare, so whatever decisions he has taken for the welfare of the people, that only that should not be recorded. So the historian should not record only those things. What else he should include? He should also write about the ruler's failings and incorrect policies. So if he had undertaken by mistake any incorrect policies, or some decision he has taken, the ruler has taken in that time, which has failed, or which was not correct, or which he thought but did not have a good impact on the people. So all such failings and his incorrect policies should also be recorded. Burney further says that the historian should also take into consideration the impact of teachings of the wise, the learned. So there are, we know that there are the advisors. There were advisors um, to the kings, who were quite knowledgeable and quite intelligent in their fields. So he says when these people gave their advices, also the saints, when these people gave the advices to the king, and when it was implemented, what was the effect it had on the cultural life, on the life of the people. So all these things should also be included or should be recorded by a historian. So that is how we can see that Burney expanded the scope of historiography. So it was not only confined to the king, but also now he suggested that according to him, he felt that the advices given by the learned, the wise, and the saints should also be included. The failings and the shortcomings, or the wrong policies implemented by the kings, should also be included in the historiography. And he also says the what impact all this had on the common people, on the people, that should also be recorded. For the historians in the Mughal court, praising the emperors and exhibition of loyalty became more important. The custom of adding suitable poetic quotes and beautiful pictures was also introduced. So, children, as we move ahead, we can see that the historians in the Mughal court, they now started giving importance to praising the emperor. And when we praise someone, of course we can get favors from him, and we can become one of the favorites for the person. So with that intent, uh, it became more important that the historians used to praise the ruler, and that is how they gained loyalty. Like the emperor used to feel, or the ruler, whoever was the ruler, used to feel that he is praising me means he likes me, and of course he is a very good person, so he is very loyal to me since he is praising me so much. So that became more important. And to show their creativity, and to uh, show how much they are influenced by the emperor, or how much they are in favor of the emperor, they started using different tactics, like they were writing some poetic codes. So also they started introducing pictures into their writings. Babur, the founder of Mughal Empire, wrote an autobiography entitled Tuzuk-e-Babri. It contains the description of the battles fought by him. Babur also recorded his minute observation of various regions and cities travelled by him, including the local economy, customs, and the flora. Now, children, here you can see that how the scope of writing, you can say, like how different small topics which were related were being included one after the other. Like earlier we have seen that not only the valor should be included, but also the failings and wrong decisions, or the shortcomings should be included. Then the concept came that praising the emperor, or praising the ruler rather. So they started using different quotes or poems or pictures to praise the emperor, praise the ruler. And later on, now we can see that Babur, who was the founder of the Mughal Empire, he wrote an autobiography. He wrote his own life story, and he entitled it, he gave it a name, Tuzuk-e-Babri. Now, in this book, in this autobiography, he has described the different battles fought by him, and also he had recorded the minute observation when he used to travel from different regions, travel to different regions or different cities. He had a minute observation. He observed the things very clearly, very minutely, and then all his observations also he has recorded and included in the in his book Tuzuk-e-Babri. And what all it includes, it includes the local economy wherever he traveled, the economy of that place, then the customs that were followed in that place. And he also observed the different plants and trees, that fruits and flowers that were growing in that area, and he also recorded these observations in his book Tuzuk-e-Babri. Abul Fazl's Akbarnama is very important from the viewpoint of critical historiography. His method of collecting authentic historical documents and their scrutiny is looked upon as devoid of bias and hence realistic. Children, Abul Fazl wrote a book called Akbarnama, and he did this Akbarnama is considered to be very important as far as historiography is concerned, because his method of writing historical document was very different, and he believed that he had collected all the authentic, that is the correct historical documents, and then he had scrutinized it, um, like he had critically observation of and or examination. He had critically examined or observed the uh, whatever sources he had got, historical documents he received, uh, and then he had written only the facts, that is also the verified facts, in his book Akbarnama. And so it is given very importance, and it is believed and it is looked upon, it is therefore described as a devoid of bias and hence realistic. Devoid of bias means devoid is not favoring something, and bias is unfair inclination for, or um, you can say, so it is basically unfair inclination for or against a person or group. So it is not favoring or it is not against any group. It is actually very plain. Whatever historical documents he got, he verified them, and whatever was correct according to it, or whatever was true according to it, only that he has mentioned. He was not at all biased, or he was not at all inclined or in favor of any person or any against any group or any person. So whatever he observed, that he has written in his book Akbarnama, and therefore it is looked upon with great respect, and it is the real thing, not biased and not influenced by anything, anybody, or any group. Bakar is an important type of historical documents of medieval times. It contains eulogies of heroes and stories of historic events, battles, lives of great men. Children, here eulogies means a speech or writing that praises. So during the medieval period, so children, Bakhar is basically it is an important historical document, and it contains the writings or the praises of the praises of the heroes or great warriors, or it about the stories of historic events or battles, or the lives of the great men, like some great warrior or some great ruler or some great influential person who had a lot of impact on the society, or who had a lot of impact in the decisions taken or the development of the society. So basically Bakars are in a poetic form, so they were written and then recited again and again so that it can be transferred from generation to generation. Marathi Bakhars are of various types. Sabhasad Bakhar was written by Krishnaji Ananta Sabhasad during the reign of Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj. It is an important Bakhar for getting information about the rule of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Now, one of the examples of Marathi Bakhar was Sabhasad Bakhar, which was written by Krishnaji Ananta Sabhasad, and this was written during the rule of Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj. This Bakhar was basically based on the life of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. It gives us a lot of information about the rule of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So this was the type where Bakhar, this was how Bakhar was written earlier. Bhausahebanchi Bakhar describes the Battle of Panipat. Another Bakhar entitled Panipatchi Bakhar is also about the same event. Holkaranchi Kaifiyat provides information about the Holkars and their contribution to the Maratha rule. Bakhars can be divided into various types such as biographies of kings, dynastic history, descriptions of events, history of a sect, autobiographies regarding grievances based on mythologies, and state administration by a king. As Marathi Bakhars were based on vivid different types of topics and different variety, you can see a lot of in that. So the next Bakhar was Bhausahebanchi Bakhar, which described the Battle of Panipat. Then there was one more Bakhar which was called as Panipatchi Bakhar, and both these Bakhars were describing the same event, that is the Battle of Panipat. Then we also have Holkaranchi Kaifiyat, which provides information about the Holkar family or the Holkars and their contribution to the Maratha rule. It's a quite popular name, and you all must be knowing about the great deeds of the Holkars in the Maratha rule. So now when we have so many Bakhars in Marathi, so these Bakhars can basically be divided into various types such as biographies. They are sometimes based on the biographies of the kings. It is also based on the dynastic history. Like you can see, this example would be Holkaranchi Kaifiyat. So it is on the not on a particular person, but it is on how the one after the other the Holkars who came onto the throne, how they contributed from their side. So this is a dynastic history. Description of events of history of a sect. Now description of events can be again Panipatchi Bakhar. So it describes the event of the battle of Panipat. It is history of a sect. Now a sect is a group of people with somewhat different religious beliefs. So earlier we had a lot of religious beliefs, and if they had a different, now different people have different religious beliefs, so it is based on the history of a particular sect which has somewhat different belief about the religious belief rather. Autobiographies autobiographies is like we can see there were autobiographies written by the people. So if it is in a poetic form and if it is sung repeatedly, it can be classified as a bakhar. Regarding grievances, now sometimes we have grievances is complaints sort of, you can say. So these were also put down into a poetic form. Grievances, I think the best example would be like when Britishers came on to rule us, there were so much of misdeeds done by them. So when these are expressed, it can be called as a bakhar regarding grievance. Then there were bakhars also based on the mythologies and state administration by a king. How a state was administered by the king, when that was put in a poetic form, it was known as that can be an example of a bakhar. Also based on mythologies. So earlier there were lots and lots of things which were based on mythology.